Guys, so we are going to be doing our gridded drawing and stippling assignment. So this is step one. This is just how to grid your paper. So in your kit for at-home learning, you have paper that is 9 by 12. So the first thing I want you to do is fold a sheet of drawing paper in half, hamburger style. So fat ways and not long and skinny. So not this way, but this way. Okay, so fold it in half, and it doesn't matter which side you want the crease on. You're just going to be drawing on one side. This is just our quick way to make your paper a little smaller. Doing a gridded drawing much larger is going to take a lot more time, so we're going to do a smaller one. All right, so you need your pencil, you need an eraser, and you need a ruler. Okay, so once you have grabbed those things, we're going to get started. So we are making a 1-inch grid. Your paper is now 6 by 9. Okay, because we folded in half the lengthwise, so we cut 12 in half, and now we have 9. So this is 9 by 6, and you can look at it this way. This is 9 by 6. Okay, so we are going to do a 1-inch grid, meaning that we are going to use the 1-inch increments on our ruler to measure out and make marks, and then eventually we will draw lines to create our grid. Think like gridded math paper, but a little bit bigger that we're going to use for drawing. All right, so this method can be done for any sort of drawing that you want to do in the gridded style. We just happen to be doing a 1-inch grid for this particular assignment, but you actually can do like 3-inch grid, 5-inch grid, it doesn't really matter. And I can explain a little bit more about that another time. All right, so on my ruler, it's really important that I find my 0 mark. Some rulers will mark the 0, and some will have the 0 be the end of the ruler. So check your ruler right now and make sure you understand where your 0 mark is. Once you do, you're going to line up that 0 mark to the edge of your paper, and I'm at my top. So see how I just switched my ruler? It was kind of diagonal like this. I want to make sure that my ruler is as parallel to the top edge of my paper as I can. And now I'm going to make some tiny little marks. I'm going to make them dark and visible so that you can see. I want you to make them as light as possible, because eventually we don't want to see the grid. We don't want to see the like behind the scenes of your project. We want to know that that grid never existed and you magically can draw super awesome. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is the edge of your paper. Slide it down. Do it again in the middle-ish area of your paper, finding your 0 mark before you start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and then we're going to do that one more time at the bottom. Marking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so now you should have 3 rows of dots. Now, a common mistake is somebody wanting to take their ruler and connect those dots horizontally. That is incorrect. That kind of defeats the purpose of us just measuring out 1 inch. We actually are going to flip our ruler so that a ruler is now vertical, and we're going to line up the 3 dots vertically, okay? And then we're going to draw a nice light line. I would like you to go as light as possible, so don't put a lot of pressure on your pencil. And then we're going to slide it over to the 2 inches, and you're going to keep doing that across your paper. Being careful as you go to line up your 3 dots. You're kind of taking the average of the 3. If you notice that 1 dot seems to be wrong, you might have made a mistake when you originally measured. But again, that's why we measure 3 separate times. Like this one is a little off for me. But I'm just double checking that I'm getting it as straight as possible. Holding my ruler down tight, that's always really important so it doesn't slide as you work. Okay, so step 1 is done. So you should be able to see vertical lines, and you also might still be able to see some of your dot marks from measuring, and that's totally fine. Okay, so our next step is to do this again, but do it the other direction. So I'm actually going to flip my paper, okay, so that it is now vertically aligned, but my lines are now horizontal. I'm going to measure again. Finding my 0 mark. I'm at the top edge of my paper, and I'm marking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 is the edge of my paper. I'm sliding down. This time I'm going to utilize a line that already exists on my paper, and I'll make my little tick marks or dots right on that line. And then I'm going to use one of the bottom lines as well. The important part is that you are measuring 3 times up or down and across your paper, okay? Don't try to like measure it all and then save the lines for last. You need to follow my example and do it all of your vertical lines and then all of your horizontal lines. Otherwise, you will get really confused because there's going to be a lot of like different marks on your paper. All right, so I'm going to either rotate my paper or rotate my ruler. It's completely up to you. But I'm going to carefully look for my 3 measurements and then draw down. Really taking your time with this part because setting up your grid is probably the most important part of the project. If your grid is off, then you are going to end up with a lot of awkward drawing shapes and it's going to be proportionally out of shape because we essentially are going to use this grid to help break down your drawing into inch by inch increments, allowing you to know, oh, my drawing starts here and it comes out of here and then it comes this way. So this grid really helps you be able to exactly replicate a photo that you want to draw. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next step. So you have gridded your base paper. You can go ahead and put that aside and get ready for the next step. Yay, we're done.